Good morning, Poet fans. Welcome to WCPoets.com. Another edition of Coach's Corner here, brought to you by the Whittier College Sports Network. I'm Lance Franey, Associate Athletic Director for Communications, and today I'm joined by head women's soccer coach Derek Hanks. Derek, thanks for hopping on with me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So the first question I have for you, of course, the general question: how has life been during quarantine for you? You have a new addition to the family. How has that been, and kind of what else have you been up to?
Yeah, so I have three daughters now. I have a 4-year-old, McKenna. Charlie will be 2 next month, and we have a 5-month-old. So it's been it's been a little tough, but we're pretty lucky that we get to spend all this time with them. Being so young and so little, so we get to take them to the parks, take them for walks. So it's been nice.
Now, for you, how has that been being in? Because you're not in LA County, are you?
No, I'm in Ventura County.
Ventura, so that's definitely completely different than being here in LA. So kind of what are the restrictions there for you?
It's a little more lax in Ventura County. It's nice, but it's also not nice because obviously you want people to be safe. So we don't go out too often. The only place I really go is to the store, or like I said, we take the kids for walks. But yeah, it's definitely a little more lax here. But it's nice that the parks are open up because my kids were definitely missing that.
Now, since you can't see your athletes right now, how do you keep them motivated and ready for the upcoming season if we do have a season in this upcoming spring?
Yeah, it's hard. Zoom fatigue is real. So I tell them all the time, like, I don't want them online with their classes 8 hours a day, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And then they got another hour or two of us a day. So what we've been doing is we meet about once a week. We have some great conversations, and then we set up workouts for them pretty much every day, just to keep their bodies going, keep them mentally fit, in hopes that we get to play our SCIAC season in the spring.
Now that's going to definitely be a different kind of season. Once we get to that point, it's going to be conference schedule only, probably only a few home games, if that, and that's if all the SCIAC schools are playing. Like you talked about right now, you're doing some individual one-on-ones, you're doing some group stuff. Anything specific that you're doing in those meetings with the players?
Yeah, like I said, we're really just trying to keep their mental state in a good place. When I have conversations individually with a lot of my players, a lot of them are very anxious, so it's trying to ease that anxiety and give them tips on how to get past it and how to work with it. But yeah, I definitely feel for these student athletes. I feel for my student athletes. This is not easy, soccer getting taken away and school, in person getting taken away. It's not easy by any means. So, I just try to be an ear for them and listen. And if I can give advice, I try to help them when I can.
And regarding the recruiting front of things, are you able to recruit for the following year? And has that been productive for you with going to tournaments and seeing new players?
Well, we don't see anybody in person. There's a couple states that are open right now. One of my assistant coaches actually took his team to Arizona and they played some games. There's no in-person games in California going on right now that we've been able to get out to. But my coaching staff and I think we've done a great job of setting up Zoom meetings with future 21s. We've probably done 30, 35, I would say. So yeah, we've definitely been hustling, and there's no competition right now as far as soccer. So the recruiting side is how we kind of get our competitive juices going. We're hoping to land some big time players for 21.
And you have to be creative in the recruiting scene now too. Like you're talking about, you're doing Zoom sessions, and we never thought we would have to do that with recruits.
Yeah, it's not easy, and sometimes you don't have the best internet, or they don't have the best internet, so you're talking over each other. Yeah, it's not always. I'll give a whole spiel, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't hear anything you said." So it makes it difficult. It definitely makes it difficult. But at least we get to see them face to face instead of just on the phone. Zoom has definitely helped.
Of course, and maybe once things get back to normal here with COVID and all of that, maybe we stick to doing some Zoom calls. Maybe it's a little easier.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the out-of-state kids. Before I didn't really even think about it. We just would talk on the phone with the out-of-state kids. But now with the Zoom, our football coach on campus did a great thing where he took them on a virtual tour, and we plan to do that within the next couple of weeks.
Perfect. So some great ideas here on the recruiting front. Now, when we do return to competition, and we're hoping in the springtime, we'll be able to play fall, winter, and spring sports, condensed seasons. Now, things are going to be different. So what are some areas you think might be different for you when you approach practices and games? Will you have small groups? Are you going to do more individual one-on-ones? What kind of will those practices and games look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of technical work. I'm not coaching club right now, but my assistants are. And, from what they tell me is they got to be spaced apart. It's a lot of technical stuff. There's really no rondos or no scrimmages going on. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of small groups, a lot of individual work. Just really focus on getting the individual technically better. That's going to be our goal for the spring.
And again, a lot of coaches like the individual one-on-one. When players are working individual, working on their craft, that will get them better, which makes the whole team better.
Oh, without a doubt. Being able to dive into position-specific technical work for them is huge. All players that all the players that have this time off, if you're not attacking your game every day, someone else is. So for us, if we want to compete for that SCIAC next season, every single person on a roster has to make sure they're doing stuff every single day.
Now, talking about some of the recruits you brought in for this year, let's talk about some of those new players. Did you have a really good recruiting class? And will they be able to come in and compete right away for you? Are you pretty excited for this group?
Yeah, definitely. We brought in 4 true freshmen and a transfer. I think these 5 right away have a chance to start, or if not, compete for a lot of minutes right off the bat. I don't see any of them having to wait a year or 2 to get on the field for us. We had a small class this year because our senior class last year was kind of small. We had a couple kids defer till fall 21, so we're excited to add them as well. But yeah, no, I think this 20 class is great. We brought in 2 forwards, a center mid, a defender, and a goalie.
Okay. Now, smaller group, you're saying 5 new players coming in. You did have a good roster size. What's a good number for you to be able to hold?
For now or for 21?
For right now, what's just a good roster size for you to hold on to?
Got it. Yeah. So right now we're around 22, 23. I'm hoping in the fall for 21 that we're going to be around 28. I'd like to get a little bit bigger roster. I want to make sure that, competition breeds success. So I want to make sure we're bringing in players in every position that are going to compete for starting spots, freshmen, transfers, whoever it is. I want them to push the current student athletes we have in our program.
Now, before Whittier College, you were at Cal State Northridge. You oversaw the defensive unit for the Matadors. Pretty much the best defense in that conference that you were looking over. You've brought that defensive mentality here to Whittier College. You posted 10 draws over the past 2 seasons, 8 of which were shutouts. How do you bring it offensively moving forward? And what approaches do you take in your recruiting? Are you looking at defense first, or do you go after scores?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I guess you could say, a little more defensive minded. I was a center back when I played, so it's just natural. I love a good shutout. Every game we talk about getting the shutout because, if they don't score, they can't win. But we also got to be able to finish, and that's been a struggle for us the past 2 seasons. Every time I have a conversation with my assistant coaches about recruits, it's we need to find some forwards. We need to find some center mids that are going to, feed these forwards. We got to find natural goal scorers. The last 2 seasons have definitely been, let's get some offense going because, our defensive end will always be there. We've got some great goalies on our team, great defenders. We have great forwards and midfielders as well. We just got to get to that next step to where we're putting that ball in the back of the net.
Of course. Now, do you feel some of these players you brought in for this upcoming year and even players for 2021, are you going to try and get the team even faster, spread that field a little bit more?
Yeah. No, I felt last year we had some good speed. Some freshmen we brought in this year have some great pace, and some recruits we've been talking to have some great pace as well. I'm very excited for the future. We were young last season. My first year we had 10 seniors. So we lost a big chunk that year. But this last season, I would say a lot of our starters were freshmen and sophomores. So the future is very bright for us.
Now, the last question I have for you, any words of advice or, any positive encouragement for current athletes that are going to school here now, going through this, virtual remote learning right now, and even any recruits looking at coming to Whittier College, any words of advice, to get through this situation right
now? Yeah, find someone you can talk to. Don't keep you. For me, every time I have a conversation with one of our student athletes, it's getting them to express themselves on how they feel, right? So find that person you can talk to, whether it's your parents, your friends. Try to relieve that anxiety by having a conversation. You're not the only one going through this. We all are. I have 3 kids under 4, so it's a little stressful at my house too, so I definitely understand it. But yeah, that would be my biggest thing is just open communication. Talk to your coaches, talk to your teammates, talk to your friends, your family. Don't just put yourself in a corner in a dark room on Zoom with your class. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, so just being involved. We're going to get through this. It is a tough time. It's going to be a new normal. We're going to get back to in-person classes. We'll be getting back onto the field. So there are going to be better times ahead for sure.
Exactly. It'll come. Might be a little ways away, but it'll come.
Perfect. Well, Derek, that's all the time we have here today on our Coach's Corner with you. Thank you so much for hopping on with me.
I appreciate it. Go vote.